and focus themselves in what really matters so they can make the right decisions that will bring unity and comfort and blessings upon this community. We ask you these things in Jesus' only name. Amen. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I would like to have Post 255 start the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You wanna go down? I'd like to ask my colleagues to join me at the down at the bottom so I can acknowledge some veterans. Thank you. You know, during this campaign, I travel through a lot of areas of the city of Deltona, and I have come to meet more people that I knew before. But I found out that I didn't have to go very far from this room to learn about our residents and our friends that we join us at this meeting. And so I would like to first call up and honor Gloria Ford. Gloria, it is my honor to have you up here today to recognize you and thank you for your service. Let's see where it starts here. Gloria was an intelligence specialist, chief petty officer. Gloria Ford enlisted in the U.S. Navy at the age of 18 and began her service in January of 1980. She served for 20 years as an intelligence specialist until she retired in January of 2000. Her duty stations included Fleet Intelligence Center Pacific, Naval Air Reserve Whidbey Island, Intelligence Center Pacific Camp Smith, Joint Intelligence Center Pacific, Office of Naval Intelligence in D.C., and Fleet Training Center Mayport. She earned her bachelor's degree during her first 8 years of military service. She steadily progressed through the ranks, attaining the rank of Chief Petty Officer in her 11th year of service. Her duties included providing all sorts of intelligence analysts to forward deploy units. In 1990, as a counter-drug analyst, she spent multiple deployments in support of Operation Wipeout, logging over 1,000 flight hours as an aerial observer, spotting and eradicating marijuana in support of the war on drugs. Gloria, you did all that. This included working with state and federal law enforcement agencies and other military commands. Her last duty station brought her to Fleet Training Center at Mayport, Florida, where she taught Navy leadership and coordinated training for 14 instructors traveling to 11 military sites in the southeastern United States. Her personal awards include the Joint Service Commendation Medal, 2 Navy Commendation Medals, Joint Service Achievement Medals, Navy Achievement Medal, Joint Meritorious Unit Award, Meritorious Unit Commendation, 5 Navy Good Conduct. Good conduct.
It's not bad.
5 Navy Good Conduct Medals, and the National Defense Service Medal. Upon her retirement, her family, which included her husband and 3 children and 3 kids, made their home in Deltona, where they have lived for the past 27 years. City of Deltona Certificate of Recognition presented to Gloria Ford, Intelligence Specialist, Chief Petty Officer, U.S. Navy, in recognition of dedicated service, sacrifice, and commitment. Deep gratitude is extended for your contributions in defending and protecting our nation. We thank you for your service, Gloria.
No.
Picture? When it goes. Thank you. Now we know where all that feisty comes from when she screams in the back of the room, right? Thank you again for your service. Now I want to call up Albert Arthur Kurt. Albert, who served 22 years and still serves with the David G. Ledgerwood American Legion Post 255. Thank you. Albert Gunnery Sergeant? It's all abbreviated, I'm trying to remember what I heard in my house. United States Marine, retired, served from 1969 through 1991. Al graduated from USMC Paris Island Boot Camp, been there, South Carolina, and was stationed at Marine Corps Station, Beaufort, South Carolina, been there too. MCAS, Cherry Point, North Carolina, Marine Corps Air Reserve Training Detachment, Atlanta, Georgia, and Andrews, Air Force Base, Washington, D.C. Al served 5 tours in Japan, from where he had temporary assignments of duty to the Philippines, Korea, and Vietnam as an F-4S Phantom fighter jet aircraft, J-79 engine technician. Al also served as a military policeman in Japan and United States Marine recruiter in Orlando, Florida, 1981 to 1983. After retiring from the United States Marine, Al continued his civilian career in the aviation field as an aircraft mechanic in a pilot training school at Sanford. I've been there. Al was also an instructor at the Aircraft Institute of Maintenance in Sanford, Florida, and is still serving with the Navy, with the David G. Ledger American Legion Post 255, Deltona, Florida. Albert, I want to thank you for your service. City of Deltona Certificate of Recognition, Albert Arthur Kurt, Gunnery Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, retired, in recognition of dedicated service, sacrifice, and commitment. Deep gratitude is extended for your contributions in defending and protecting our nation. We thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Take a picture.
And welcome home. Take a picture.
Where is Tim? Right here?
Yeah. Thank you again, everyone, for your service, and everyone veteran here in the office. Thank you. Oh, hold on a second. Why don't you tell them?
I just wanted to let everybody know that Gloria Ford is our newest member of the American Legion. She just joined this past weekend, so thank you.
All right. This time we're going to go to additions and deletions. Commissioner Harriet and then Commissioner Novick.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple additions and deletions. The first one, I'd like to add an item for discussion in reference to data centers. This was the item that I had requested at the last meeting for the attorneys and staff to bring back some information on, and we have since received that report, and so I'd like to have the discussion on that tonight and move forward. The second item is pertaining to what our two neighbors, Joe and Patty, brought forth today, and I'd like to add this item for discussion as well for growing food in the right-of-way. And then the third one is a District 6 item. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
D Ranch?
Yeah, on the D Ranch.
I'll let Commissioner Novick bring up his item.
Go ahead, Commissioner Novick.
Before I speak, I think Commissioner Caldwell was trying to get a word in. He's on the phone.
Commissioner Cole, did you need to say something under
Yes, well,
additions or deletions?
I want to be assured that I'm going to get the same courtesies as
We cannot-
previous commissioners.
Commissioner Caldwell, give me one quick minute. Can we make sure we can hear him?
Hello?
There you go.
There you are.
I want to be assured that I'm going to get the same courtesies as previous commissioners that zoomed in.
You will, and that's my apologies. I usually go to you first, so you will
I
get.
have an addition I want to add. It's along the same lines as Harriet's. I want to add a ban on large-scale data centers, 50,000 megawatts and up, that require liquid cooling, and a moratorium on data centers 49,999 megawatts or less.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and add that to 8B as in boy combined with Commissioner Harriet's together.
All right. Thank you. That's it.
All right, and for Harriet, your other Commissioner Davison, your other item would be under 9B as in boy. Go ahead, Commissioner Novick.
9B for him?
He's going to have 8B as in boy, and then under action items, it'll be 9B.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the
Data center
data
information
center
is going to
should
be 8B.
be under action items.
You want it under action items as well?
Yes, sir, because it's not an ordinance.
All right. So that'll be 9B, and then the second request will be 9C. Is that how you want it?
Yes, thank you very much.
Gotcha. Commissioner Novick.
Yes, thank you. There's an issue coming up with regards to the ranch and some of the grant funding for that. I'm not going to be able to attend that meeting, and I'd like to know, you can make that? Okay. If we're okay with that, Commissioner Harriet will go ahead and bring that information back to us regarding the D Ranch. And then the second item that I have, we can either add it to the agenda or I can just get consensus right now. I'd like to get recognition for Pine Ridge High School's junior ROTC for their participation in the senior prom. They did a phenomenal job last night, stayed throughout the whole event, helped with food, danced, and just were great partners for that event.
Just so we don't leave what we do, I'll add it to your commissioner comment request.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good. Vice Mayor, you are on the board as well?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I don't know if it goes here or if should reserve it for comments and report requests, but I don't remember if it was the last meeting or the meeting prior to that. We were told that at this meeting, we would be voting on the boat ramp agreement with the engineers. I don't see it on the agenda. I don't know if it's now or wait for later.
So we can bring you back a report and we can give you that, but I will tell you that we actually have a kickoff meeting this Wednesday at the boat ramp between staff and the engineering services company. So we can bring you an official for the commission to look at. We're just meeting with the engineering team out there to get started. Then we'll bring that back to you for a conversation.
Okay, thank you. I'll have another comment at the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harrington? Additions
you.
or deletions?
I would like to get an item added to to a future meeting, perhaps put it on a consent agenda. This is my third time asking. I would like to get a presentation on the ADA improvements the city has made. This is not specifically tied to any particular person, but what we have done to be in compliance with various state and federal regulations. I would like us to be able to tell our residents what we have been doing, because I know that there has been action taken, but we have not received a report. And again, this is my third time asking, and I have yet to see it appear on an agenda for a consent item. And then, I don't know if we need to take a vote, but can we move the stanchions back over to protect staff? And then potentially have one of
can we
these
do-
wonderful
those are not
sheriff's
additions.
deputies.
Can we
Well,
do, that goes under your comments.
Okay.
We can do it under your comments. We're convoluting everything. We got to keep the format of the meeting. All right. We're going to go ahead and keep moving. Just for clarification, Zach, the growing of the food is going to go under 8B because that does fall under ordinance, not action items.
So so it would be under 9.
You
I
still
would
want it
recommend it be
under
under 9C because you're not approving an
I
ordinance.
just want to make sure. All right. All right, we're going to go ahead and then move to presentation, awards, and reports. We have a presentation from Senator Tom Wright and Representative Webster Barnaby. If I can please have the City Commission meet me at the floor, and we will be receiving a check from them regarding a $1.25 million funding that was secured with assistance from both Senator Wright and Representative Barnaby for water main replacement.
Vice Mayor, good to be here. Mayor, great to see you.
We brought you the check. Payable to Barnaby. We brought a check payable to Barnaby.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm honored to be here tonight with such great veterans that are here tonight, that have been honored tonight. Every day we have to remember that if it wasn't for our veterans, we wouldn't all be standing here. So nothing more than I can say is that I love our veterans. God bless you all for what you do. You continue to serve your communities. You're amazing men and women, and thank you for what you've done for this great country. Thank you.
I just want to say good evening to everyone. It's nice to be back on my old stomping ground, former city commissioner for District 2. I love the city of Deltona. This is my home, and I'm looking forward to great years ahead for the city of Deltona. We're working real hard in Tallahassee to make sure we bring home the bacon. We're going to bring the money to Deltona, and a lot of great things are planned for the future. Dana McCool, we got you back. We got you taken care of. And anyone here in Deltona has a great idea, please come to Tallahassee and see me and my staff. We will work real hard to get the appropriations done, as long as the request is a common sense request. We want to get it done. My staff is here today. My legislative aide is lovely Mackenzie Cunningham. Stand up, Mackenzie. And my district aide is also here, Kara Evan. Kara's right over there. All right, this is House District 29A team. They are excellent, and they do a great job in serving you, the people here in House District 29. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having us here today.
Okay.
Thank you. For those of you that aren't aware of the process in the legislature, we get approximately 20 times the amount of requests for the money that's actually available. So my partner on the House side, myself on the Senate side, we don't just go in and say we need $1,250,000 and walk out with an okay. This is a long, long, long process. And pardon me for telling you the bottom line truth. We go through a lot of chapstick, kissing a lot of fannies to make sure that that money gets here to Deltona. So God bless you all. We're really proud to be able to bring you a check today. Chris can bring it over. Barnaby's going to have to help me hold it. It's pretty heavy. $1,250,000 for the city.
All right, thank you guys so much for your hard work. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we have a presentation update on the YMCA's offerings to the community. Go ahead. All right, Mr. Harriet, Commissioner Harriet, this
Thank
is
you,
your
Mayor.
request. Go ahead.
I wanted to thank the YMCA and Sophia for coming tonight and sharing all the great things that they have throughout our community. Even as lastly as last night, we heard that from residents that there's a need in this community for swimming pools and activities for the seniors. And I'm so excited that you guys can share that you guys provide those, but not just for the seniors, but for everybody in our community. So thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely. I want to first say thank you guys all for having me here. Thank you guys all for being here as part of my audience as well. I do want to say my name is Sophia. I'm the Associate Executive Director over at the Deltona Family YMCA. This is my partner in crime. He's District Executive Director over Deltona, Camp Winona, and Deltona YMCA, Jose Rodriguez. So we're going to go through. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. Do you guys know when the YMCA got to Deltona? When? Anybody in the audience? When did we get there? Come on, you guys know. 15? You think so? The one with the pool. Or when did the YMCA? When did the YMCA get there? So we got here actually in 1992. We started off without a core building. We started off just having programs, as in summer camp and sports programs in your schools and buildings throughout the city. So until we officially got a full building in 1997. So we have been here for about 34 years. I'm gonna try to do both of this at the same time. I'm a little nervous, so thank you guys for being patient with me. All right, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what we have been doing for the last 34 years, or at least in 2026, the part that I've been a part of. In just this year, we have had over 7,000 members join us from Deltona, and 33% of that is seniors. 2,500 seniors have come out over the age of 60 and join us, and 20% of that 7,000 makes up our youth program, our youth that comes out, joining us for anything between our membership or sports, all of our programs. I'm going to have Jose talk a little bit about the sports because he's a sportsy guy.
Thank you for having us. The YMCA has been doing sports here, like Sophia said, since 1992. The reason I can attest to that is I was one of the coaches back then and sports facilitators. This year, we've served over 1,500 youth sports participants at the YMCA. We'll end the year exceeding over 2,000 participants. We've also served over 311 kids learning how to swim this past summer at the YMCA. That's a key thing for us because, as we know, we have waters everywhere, whether it's lake, retention ponds, so it's very important for us for water safety. And we have a total of over 2,000 program members in our entire YMCA. Sure. So one of the things about the YMCA that differentiates us from any other facility is the amount of money that we give back to the community. The YMCA has given back to the Deltona community this year over $34,888. We're in track to exceed $85,000, which is what we gave last year. We do fundraising, and this year we've raised a little bit over $34,000. So as you can see, there's a deficit that we take that on from our bottom line ourselves. But our main thing is we don't turn anybody away from lack of payment. So if you have anybody that wants to participate in our youth sports programs, in our swim lessons, in our after school, and our summer camp, send them our way and we'll find a way to get them to make sure that they can participate, even as funding is a problem for them also.
Just in the last 10 weeks of summer, while your kids were out of school and in our buildings, we served 623 kids over that course of 10 weeks, about 60 kids per week throughout our summer camp, enjoying our facility, doing field trips, tons of fun things that we got going on for them. This year, for after school care, we will be serving 1,800 kids, helping them with homework, giving them healthy snacks, and providing them a safe space. And then I also want to give a big shout out to our volunteers, because we would not be able to do our work, have our coaches. We actually have one of our favorite coaches and volunteers in here. It's over 180 of you guys that have come out to help support and keep our programs growing. And this is just a little overview. It's just kind of like a filler slide. Just kind of going over whatever we have just talked about. We have served over 7,000 members here in Deltona, and we have over 2,000 participants in all of our programs across swim lessons, sports, after-school programs, and all the programs that we provide. So far, we have given away about $34,000, but we have raised about $34,000, and we're expected to give away a little over $85,000 this year. And by the end of this year, we'll be serving over 2,000 students in our sports programs. So thank you guys for all having us here. Thank you guys for your partnership and your leadership throughout this entire year. I really appreciate you guys being a guidance to me, because I have come to you guys before and have spoken to you guys. You guys have been amazing leadership for me. And I just want to say thank you.
Commissioner Caldwell, do you have any comments?
I do not at this time.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move to presentation from Family Health Source. No, got it. Presentation for the bike helmet ride into summer safety. Fair report by Dana McCool.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to start off by thanking the City of Deltona for working with us on this. This project was started by Deltona Strong, and Deltona Strong is a nonprofit that was started in 2018 at Boston Coffee Shop, because there are a few people that were tired of online complaining with no action. And we started as a non-political community organization so that we could do things like when the sheriff department called, we would take gas cards to people stranded. We'd get domestic violence victims out of situations. If somebody, we had older people had a problem with a project at their home that they couldn't do, or somebody was out of code compliance, we went and helped them. Completely with volunteers, a few that are sitting in this room right here. So I just wanted to tell you that Deltona Strong has been non-political and nonprofit. All of our paperwork is in order, and it's sad when a community organization is attacked and said that they were going to be investigated for criminal activity. So I'm just going to put you out there. This is what these poor people have to deal with. These volunteers that put their time into what you heard, the senior prom, the bike helmet event. So we are completely transparent, and I've brought papers for you. I think that Mr. Bryan has a copy so that he can read over that because I know people are always interested in financials. So I want to talk about the great stuff here at this event. It was held on May 30th at Dewey Boster Park. It was the Ride Into Summer Safety Fair, and with the partnership with the city and our sponsors, many that you can see there that are community investors here. They're very invested in our community and the health and wholeness of our community. And the purpose was to formally engage residents for bicycle safety, to provide, number two, to provide a community event that focused on helmets, and number three, to inform public of state law and municipal ordinances on helmet mandates. This was started because I saw a lot of kids riding down on our sidewalks without helmets on. And there's a state law about protecting our children, and we talk a lot about parental rights, but not about parental responsibilities. And I see these children coming from the school right here, riding right by City Hall, gangs of them, no helmets on. And so we have had, Volusia County, when I was a sitting member of TPO, there was a zero goal of no pedestrian and bike safety issues. And Deltona is pretty much #1 on the chart for pedestrian and bike events in Volusia County. Volusia County has a horrible record that TPO and Bike Walk Central Florida are walking on. So I approached the city about this and asked how we could partner, and so that's what we did. You can see a brief look of our sponsors right there. So we held this event. It was rainy on that day. Everybody hung in there. This is how the event went here when we talk about metrics and deliverables and program delivery. The arrival and welcome, we were there at 8 a.m. and many people were there early setting up for this event. Again, it was still raining. It was a great. The core activities, you see one of our vendor tents right there set up by Halifax. And each station, we had I think about 12 stations, were safety stations, and the kids had to visit those with their parents and get a passport sign that said they had been there to that. They heard the safety message from our sheriff's department, from the tax collector, from our sponsors, from the city regarding the safety and helmet. We were informing the parents because we didn't want an unfunded mandate by telling kids that they had to have helmets without delivering help. So we wanted to provide the helmets for free. You can't have a stick without a carrot, right? So we did the responsible thing there. The community connection that we talked about, we were there at 9:11 a.m. The community connection, we had hired a BMX professional team to come out and talk to the kids while engaging them, because activity produces interest in children and they are much more apt to listen and learn and follow. And the parents could hear the message also. And then at 12, when we closed, the close and follow-up, we had raffles provided by one of our sponsors, Family Health Source, who did a raffle, a plethora of bikes, safety equipment. So everything there was safety-related. The participation and reach, we believe that we had about 500 visitors that afternoon. Again, it was very rainy, and that was according to product that was given away, collateral from our sponsors, right? What they brought versus what they brought back with them. And then we had about 24 volunteers from the community, and along with some other participants who had graciously donated their time. And we had 175 helmets fitted and verified by Central Florida Bike Walk on kids. That's 174 lives that we directly impacted that day. The participation, if you want to look there at our list of sponsors, we had Family Health Source, who they partnered with us. They jumped in there. They brought a lot of visibility to the program. We had Bike Walk Central Florida. And in the relationship, Bike Walk Central Florida is another nonprofit. And their position is this: the helmets are given to DOT and they supply the human capital that it takes, the people that they employ to come and fit the helmets, because DOT will not release helmets to the community without someone there officially making sure that they're fitted, that the kids understand the safety, that the parents understand the safety. So that's what was budgeted. The city of Deltona, Florida was so gracious, and I believe that I tried to handwrite notes to each one of them to thank them for the participation and understanding how important this event was for our community. We held it over at Dewey Boster Park, and it was amazing. We had the Easter Seals out there, Volusia Sheriff, Halifax, and UF Health both. Will Roberts was out there from the tax collector's office, the Volusia Flagler TPO, Rue and Zifra, FDOT, Rio Skate Park, the BMX, Storch Law Firm, the firefighters, and Deltona Strong. So we were all in, and the Hispanic Association. So thank you all to everyone that participated. These are just, I'm going to go through here. Here's some of how the day went. And I will tell you, might ask yourself that, well, there's an absence of children or showing the subjects. And we were very careful about that because some kids, you know, we didn't want to publicly put photos of kids on there. So we're very limited in that, but it was documented and well attended. So you just kind of see the tents here. Halifax had collateral there. They had safety packs. They give away first aid kits, things like that, wristbands. Our sheriff was there welcoming with his team. As you can see, Family Health Source was there. They gave away bikes and, again, safety stuff and some other great collateral. There is the tents that they had set up. You can kind of see the helmets in the background there, but again, there were always kids in line, so we were, you know, safety first. There's Doc, our city manager, talking. So he was out there. There were slides for kids out there, face painting. Our firefighters came and helped with hydration. We had a hydration station to make sure that people were well hydrated. It was one of our goals in safety. We have the mayor there, Commissioner Novick, and myself, and here's some other volunteers. Commissioner Santiago. We have Ann Cartier from Rotary was there participating. Commissioner Colwell came out.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, I ran out. Okay, thank you very much, guys. The financials are available right here. If you have any questions, I have paper because I know everybody likes to look at the money. So these are available on the back table.
Commissioner Caldwell, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Commissioner Harriet?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to thank Dana and the whole team that put that event together. That was bringing a lot of members of the community together, from Volusia Flagler TPO to Bike Walk Central Florida, everybody that was listed. And it's great to see all those partnerships at work for our youth.
All right, thank you. At this time, we're going to go to presentation from the Teresa Basin Flood Control Study by Ardura Group. And Ms. Wallace.
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. Ben, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your last name because I will not get it right, so I'm just going to say this is Ben with Arduro. You may recall after the hurricane impacts of Ian and Nicole in 2022, the Teresa Basin was heavily impacted, various reasons. Water came from everywhere and anywhere and just seemed to focus, unfortunately, predominantly in District 1. So we engaged with Ardura to do what we're calling the Teresa Basin Study. We do have the preliminary report. So Ben's going to give you a high-level overview of the findings of that, and then we'll be coming back to you for direction on how we want to proceed. So, Ben?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Ben Pernesny. I'm a senior project manager with the Ardura Group, and it's been my pleasure to work now for the better part of 3 years on evaluating the Teresa Basin. And to try to keep this as close to 8 minutes as possible, I'm going to give you, as Phil said, a rather high-level overview of where the study stands, what we have found so far, some preliminary recommendations, and where we go from here. So just a quick overview again of what the goals and objectives of the studies are. And really our goal here is to try to develop as thorough an understanding as possible of the hydrology of the Teresa Basin, to figure out how it's going to behave, not only when a large storm comes through, like Hurricanes Ian and Nicole or Milton after that, but also what would happen in the Teresa Basin then during dry periods when the lake levels draw down. And the goal primarily to come out of here then is to come up with a defensible, feasible, permittable flood control plan then that can provide tangible relief to the residents of the Teresa Basin. A quick overview on the Teresa Basin. It's 35 square miles, starts up in the very southern portions of the city of DeLand, a little bit of the city of Lake Helen. Includes about a little over 60% of the area of the city of Deltona, draining from in a chain of lakes from Lake Colby in unincorporated Volusia County north of the city down to Lake Doyle at its southern point. It is hydrologically considered closed. There is no natural outfall for this system. Compared to, say, your neighbors over in Deep Creek, where all the water gets into the creek, and eventually the creek discharges to a larger water body, in that case the St. Johns River, the Teresa Basin has no such outfall. There is one man-made outfall that exists on the very south side of the basin, which discharges from Lake Doyle, to Lake Bethel. And this outfall has quite limited capacity. It also is subject to some very stringent permit conditions due to a history of legal challenges brought to the operation of this outfall by local residents. So, in order to provide us a basis from which we can evaluate and identify some potential improvements to provide flood control in the basin, our first step was to develop some stormwater models, some computer models then that helped us to simulate what happens when a storm comes through the basin. We're doing this based not only on what we call synthetic storms. If you've heard of the fabled 100-year storm that forms the floodplain analysis that everyone's familiar with, that's based on a statistical analysis of rainfall in the area. But we're also simulating real-world results data, looking at actual rainfall that happened between years 2009 to 2022, so covers both large events as well as historic dry periods like we had here in early 2010s, again, to help us to develop as accurate a simulation of what's happening in the Teresa Basin as possible. The city has done modeling in this area previously, and we built upon models that were published back in the 2019 citywide stormwater master plan, added considerable additional detail with newer and better data, and providing a lot more resolution, particularly in those areas that were determined to be particularly flood prone. One of the major modifications and improvements we're making to this model is including a groundwater component. Again, since this is a completely closed basin, one of the most important interactions is what happens then as the water seeps down through these lakes then into the surrounding groundwater aquifers. That is one of the main limiting factors that determines how quickly these lakes can draw down after a big event. It's also, again, during dry periods, plays a big factor in how low the lakes themselves get and being able to maintain healthy, sustainable lake levels even during the dry periods. So we've been in the process of adding that groundwater component to our to these computer models. That is a task that remains ongoing because it's a particularly complex element that, again, we don't normally include in stormwater modeling of this kind, but it was really determined to be necessary here, again, due to the closed nature of the basin. Now, at the same time, though, we have been taking a look at looking at some conceptual capital improvements that we can make to provide some tangible flood relief. And this is based on preliminary modeling that we have done and just our general knowledge of how the basin is behaving, which is that when a big event comes through, the lakes will fill very quickly, water levels will get up, and then they stay there. And then all of the ponds and stormwater systems then that drain towards the lake, which is basically all the stormwater systems then on the periphery, they back up as well, just due to high tailwater then in the lakes. There's a lot of excess flood water, and there's really not a whole lot of land available within the basin itself to try to store more of it. Particularly, there's not very much available public land or vacant private land that we could build large enough storage areas within Teresa Basin to try to keep it in here and reduce flooding elsewhere in the basin. So it was determined pretty early on that the best bang for buck was going to be looking at diverting excess flood waters into adjacent open basins. The two closest and best options there being to the east towards Deep Creek or to the south then towards Lake Monroe. But the thing that needs to be stated here is that is easier said than done. It's not just a matter that we can go ahead and we can put a pump in Lake Louise and pump it down to Lake Monroe and everything will be hunky-dory. There's a couple of major hurdles that we need to overcome. The first is that we have to make sure that in pumping water out of Teresa Basin that we're not simply moving the flooding issue downstream then to whatever the receiving water would be. The second then is on the water quality side of things. Again, right now, being a closed basin, it's presumed that there are no surface water discharges coming from this entire 35-acre watershed down into the middle St. Johns River Basin, which is impaired and subject to a basin management action plan for which the city and other stakeholders in the basin have statutory goals and requirements then for pollutant load reduction. So were we to simply pump water out of the Teresa Basin into adjacent basins, that constitutes a new pollutant load that would need to be mitigated before those discharges then would be allowable by the Water Management District and other regulatory agencies. So in coming up with capital improvements here, these flood diversions, there's really three major components. We're looking at a pump station to be able to pump water out. We're looking at large distances of large diameter force main to be able to convey these large flows of water. And then on the downstream side, we are looking at some large reservoirs and regional water treatment areas that we can place in order to accept these flows, attenuate them not only for flood control in the downstream basin, but also to provide the necessary water quality treatment to be able to make the projects permittable. So we've got two large regional programs that we have identified to date, and I'm going to go over them here real quick. So this one right here is on the south side of the basin, and we're looking really at the south end of Lake Louise, and that is Fort Smith Boulevard, right where Lake Louise crosses under Fort Smith. And this would be what we feel is a good spot to go ahead and put a pretty large pump station. We then have outlined here about 5 miles of stormwater force main goes out Fort Smith Boulevard and down, I believe that's Helen, and then to 415, and then going out past the Deltona East Water Reclamation Facility and eventually out to property that's currently owned by the St. Johns River Water Management District. This is their Palm Bluff Conservation Area. And early in the project, we discussed with the Water Management District that this was an area that they would be interested potentially in looking at a joint project that could have multiple water resources uses. So again, we're looking at a pump station force main diversion that would get the water out to the Palm Bluff conservation area and construct some large treatment facilities then that would be able to treat and attenuate that flow prior to discharging into Deep Creek and eventually getting out to the St. Johns River. Benefits that can be provided by a project like this, and the first and the one that everyone wants to see is definitely reductions in peak flood stages and durations within the Teresa Basin. Now, the extent of that is really going to be dependent on how big you make that pump station. And we'll talk a little bit more here shortly then about the cost and benefit analysis that's going to be required to figure out what exactly is going to be work and what's going to be fundable in that regard. Provides another option in addition then to that existing gravity outfall at Lake Doyle then to help draw down the southern portion of the lake chain. And something too that would allow it to be help to draw it down faster in advance of a major event. So if we knew that a big storm was coming, several days ahead of time, could seek authorizations then to start pumping, drawing down those lakes to provide additional storage then, so that when the storm comes through, ideally there would be less flooding impact. That regional stormwater treatment provided within those large ponds provides benefit then to multiple stakeholders, again, all of whom have their requirements for pollutant load reduction under the Middle St. John's BMAP. And one of the big things that we have been looking at with all of these projects is the potential for water supply use and planning, provide additional benefits. So water being stored in that reservoir, providing an option to be able to pump it back to the city in smaller quantities. Again, this one right here, we had the force main alignment go right past the eastern wharf, so a possibility of being able to take excess water, pump it back to the wharf to augment the reclaimed water supply from that facility when under high demand circumstances. And there's other, again, potential water supply options that we can investigate there. Again, though, it is going to be a very challenging project, any project like this. And one of the first things that needs to be talked about is cost. That is a lot of initial capital cost associated. Pump stations are expensive. That kind of length of a large diameter force main is an expensive installation. And depending, again, on how much room room we would actually and volume we would actually need in those ponds, then you're getting into some very large excavation costs for the full size of the ponds that were shown in your previous figure. Not only that, then too, is that pump stations in particular, there's high operation and maintenance costs. So once you get it in the ground, you do need to maintain that frequently, replace parts in the pump and the like, and those would be costs that would have to be planned into the city's budget moving forward. Also, a lot of stakeholders involved in this project. In a project like this, we would have to work with obviously the Water Management District as the owner of that property to come to consensus on their goals for the conservation area and ensure that what we're proposing is consistent there. DOT, since we'd be putting force main through a portion of their right of way, and then multiple private landowners for easements would be required in order to be able to get that force main all the way out to the subject property. I'm going to go ahead and show now a second option, and this one would be another diversion to be placed on the north side of the basin. This one then on the south side of DuPont Lake, and with the force main then along Elkham Boulevard to get water up to a Volusia County-owned property. This is what's called the Loeffler property here on the east bank of Deep Creek. And it's a property that Volusia County has acquired some time ago. In a previous role, actually had the opportunity to look at some water supply planning projects that the county was considering on that property. One thing, too, with this particular alternative, as it is, there is a small stormwater pump station here on Lake Windsor. Again, another smaller closed lake. Cortlandt Boulevard there flooded badly during multiple of the events. Somewhat limited right now on the ability to get water, based on the size of that pump station, to be able to get water out of that area. An option like this would give us the potential to upsize that existing pump station, be able to connect it then to the new force main to get it out to Deep Creek. So benefits that can be provided throughout the northern area of this watershed. So similarly, again, very much a similar type of project, large pump station and force main to get water out to Deep Creek with a treatment facility then on a joint project then with Volusia County prior to discharge into Deep Creek. And again, a lot of similar benefits and challenges as with the last project. Again, one of the big benefits here is providing some better drawdown then on the north side of the basin. Right now, the north side of the basin really has to wait for the south side of the basin to draw down there at Lake Doyle before they start seeing those lakes start to come down. This provides another option there. And a little more of a challenging force main installation because of where the Loeffler property is on the other side of Deep Creek from where we are. You would need to go underneath the creek, probably with some sort of trenchless installation. So where are we and where do we go from here? So at this point, again, we have the basic components of these capital improvements laid out, and what we need to realize here then are the details. And that is where that modeling that we were discussing really comes into play here. Because simulating those proposed improvements in those long-term models with the real-world data is going to help us to figure out what the operation protocol for those pump stations need to be. At what elevation do we start running the pumps? How much do we pump out? When do we have to stop? What's the low level at which we really should not be allowing any more pumping in order to not run afoul of minimum flows and levels and other water supply issues with the Water Management District, things like that. Be able to identify how often we would expect these systems to operate and how much water that they would be pumping out on a yearly basis, because that then tells us then how much pollutant load we need to attenuate for within those basins or within those ponds or reservoirs on the downstream end. So from there, once we get to that point, we plan to produce for the city a range of options. That's, again, because as mentioned, these are some very expensive options, and being able to identify funding is always a challenge. So we want to be able to provide a kind of cost-benefit curve, if you will, that looks at pumps from small capacity to large capacity, from small reservoirs to large reservoirs, be able to quantify what the actual flood control benefit is for each of those portions in the range, and be able to come back to you saying, okay, if you spend $10 million here, this is the amount of benefit you get. If you spend $30 million here, this is the kind of benefit that you get. And I know that those are already some very large numbers, but it's one of those things is that those are the kinds of funds that the funding and that are likely going to be necessary in order to provide good tangible relief for similar storms. As part of our next steps too, then will be further coordination then with external stakeholders, particularly the Water Management District of Volusia County, on the particular locations that we have selected for conceptual alternatives, as well then as identifying regulatory requirements with the Water Management District, both from an environmental resource permitting perspective, as well then as coordinating with their MFL program, again, to ensure that whatever we end up doing in changing the management of the lakes within the Teresa chain is going to be consistent with their water supply needs and maintaining minimum flows and levels in several of the lakes for which those have already been established. I suspect that was already probably well past 8 minutes, but hopefully I was able to keep that as brief as I could. And I'm happy to take any questions from the commission or from residents at this time.
Commissioner Caldwell, do you have any questions?
I actually have two, yes.
Go ahead, please.
I was in previous conversation with city staff and city manager, what was originally called the Amboy Pump Station. I believe it's been changed to the Midway Pump Station. And the conversation was moving the water midway through the Teresa Basin around the Newmark area out to our rib sites. Was there any data performed on that?
We did not specifically look at discharge to existing ribs as one of our alternatives, but would be happy to discuss the matter further.
Because I believe that would also give us some volume in our cup if we were to pump it into the rib sites.
I think the Commissioner, the question was one of capacity. Again, I think that the types of pumping rates that we'd be looking at for these large flood control diversions generally well in excess then of what a rib can assimilate. But that doesn't mean though that at least a portion of those flows could be used in that capacity.
My second question is: there's talks here in Deltona of raising road elevations and putting culverts in large pipes to divert water under the roads to move it through faster to stop flooding, I believe is a theory. My question to you is by doing that on Elkham Boulevard, raising that road, increasing the flow of water coming into the lower lakes, will we create other issues downstream?
That's absolutely a possibility. Yeah, so if you open up the conveyance further upstream, then yes, you always run the risk then that you will be exacerbating issues then in the downstream portion of the lakes. But at the same time, too, this being a closed basin, all the water is going to be getting down to the lakes, to the chain of lakes pretty much anyway. So it's, again, it would absolutely need to be something that would need to be looked at. And any proposal like that should be evaluated within the model to be able to quantify that there would not be significant impacts further downstream. But again, given the closed nature of this basin, pretty much all the water is getting down to the chain of lakes regardless. So really at that point, it becomes more a matter of timing, potentially raising the water levels earlier in the storm, but not necessarily raising that peak elevation because that's just, again, governed by the volume available in the system.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caldwell. Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ben, for showing up to present tonight. I've got a few questions. As part of this study, did you guys look at where the source of the water, as someone who has stood on Catalina Boulevard for two of our natural disasters, Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Milton, that water rushes very rapidly across that. So can you speak to where that water comes from?
So again, anywhere with basically anything within the basin limits, I've had them illustrated. We are identifying again where it's coming from and routing it through the major drainage systems. So if there's a particular culvert or a ditch or something,
sorry to cut you off. What I'm trying to get to specifically is that the majority of that water that's rushing in across Catalina, that is not water that falls specifically in the city of Deltona, that Deltona is not dealing with appropriately. A lot of that water that's rushing across Catalina being in the northeastern most portion of the basin, coming from outside of the city into the city. Is that
Yes,
accurate?
we are accounting for flows then that are coming from the unincorporated county and other cities in the northern part of the basin, and quantifying, what's coming in versus what's being generated within the city.
So it's fair to say that there's a large portion of this water that is in the basin, but coming from outside of the city into the city that we are now having to figure out a solution.
Given the nature of how this basin works, anything that's into the northern part of that chain is eventually going to work its way then into the city's portion.
Okay, thank you for that. And then you had made a comment that there's one outfall from the Teresa Basin, and that's the outfall that is there at Lake Doyle that flows into the wetland park and out through Lake Bethel. Is that the only one, the only outfall from the Teresa Basin?
That there are. Again, you also have the Lake Windsor pump station. There are a couple of very smaller capacity pump stations on the east side of the city that pump over towards Steep Creek. But for large flows, that's really the only option. Yes, is that existing gravity outfall at Lake Doyle.
Okay, and so I bring up those points primarily because I want to reiterate something that you said, is that this has to be a partnership. This is not something that Deltona can fix on our own. This has to be a partnership, and we have to work very closely and very well with St. Johns River and Volusia County. As we've seen on the presentation there, both of the sites that have been presented are their sites. And so I just want to stress that to the residents that are listening, that this is not a Deltona can go and fix this on our own. The solution to this flooding is we have to work really well with everyone else, and we all have to come to the table. There's another question that is kind of a follow-up to one that was already asked by the previous commissioner. The lake levels in Lake DuPont and Lake Angela, do you know, and I believe we have lake level gauges in both of those lakes, do you know how those lakes rise and fall?
We do have the full record of data that the city, for their gauges, as well as any gauges that the Water Management District.
My understanding is that both of those lakes kind of rise and fall together.
They do, yeah.
And that would lead to the fact that elevation of Elkham Boulevard would not impact or cause any additional impacts downstream, just specifically from that project, because as it is today, those two lakes mimic each other in terms of water level. So by increasing the connection between them, the two of them, we're not increasing adverse reactions downstream. Does that surmise?
Probably, and I'll be happy to write with specifics on the interaction between those two lakes. But
okay.
If it's being controlled further downstream, then it would make sense. Then yes, that simply just opening up the culverts then at Elkham would not have a significant impact. But again, similar. Yeah. Again, we've got the models in place now that you can evaluate that over a range of storms to verify that before doing anything.
Excellent. And then have we looked into, or do we have the data that to identify the pollutant load within the Teresa Basin versus the overall Middle St. John's BMAP area? To specifically, what I'm getting at is how much difference is the water quality within the Teresa Basin versus the Middle St. John's BMAP, and what level of nutrient reduction would be required prior to discharge?
We do have water quality data for the lakes that would be pumping out of, and for evaluating pollutant loads, again, once we came up with an average of how much we'd be pumping on an annual basis, then multiplying that times the average concentrations of nitrogen and phosphorus, that gives you your load. But again, the whole thing though too is right now, from a surface water level, the assumption of what's coming out of Teresa Basin is zero, because it's a closed basin.
Yep.
So now, if suddenly we had 100 pounds per year, say, of phosphorus or nitrogen that on average that we were going to be discharging out as part of these diversions, despite the fact that the water quality within the lakes actually might be pretty good compared to the actual St. Johns River itself, but that's a new mass load of pollutants then that would be eventually getting down to the St. John's that does not get there right now, at least via surface water flow. So that would be something that we would have to. The assumption would be that we would have to mitigate that for that almost entirely, to ensure that as part of diverting flows from one basin to another, that we would not be causing a net increase then in overall pollutant load to the to the receiving water.
Thank you for that explanation. Also, have you guys looked at the data in terms of the 4B site? Because I know that a main component of that 4B site project is to pull surface water off of Lake Monroe, clean it to a drinking water standard in terms of reducing that nutrient load that would also provide credits for stormwater releases in other ways. So is that taken into effect?
As part of this, we have in general looked at existing best management practices throughout the city, as well as planned to be able, to kind of come up with a credit bank, if you will, of excess reduction credits, then portions of which then could help offset any proposed diversion loads, in addition then to the whatever specific water quality components we would add to those projects.
Okay, and then my last question, I promise it's the last one. Having experienced the Orlando Wetland Park over off of Highway 50 along the St. John's, is there an opportunity where we could develop some sort of wetland type filtration system where we could in turn clean our stormwater before it leaves the city, but also turn it into a recreational opportunity for our residents?
Constructed wetlands, or incorporating natural wetlands, absolutely is an option, and it's something that's being encouraged more and more. So again, we have not looked at a specific alternative that includes that, but that's absolutely an option. That we can look at potentially if within the basin, if there are wetlands that are have been isolated by development or something like that, of providing options to rehydrate them, get pollutant load removal, as well as incorporating recreational elements and the like, then which then itself as well opens up other funding options.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing up that last little piece about other funding options, because that's a very important key there.
Yep.
So thank you for your presentation.
Absolutely.
Ben, I just have one question. When you guys were doing the study, did you guys take into account the speed of where one of our lakes gets lowered, and on the northern side it takes it a lot longer to get lowered? Did we take that into account?
The whole system, I guess the answer to this is the whole system is modeled dynamically. So yeah, we're looking, the way that we have our model set up, we're looking at the whole system all at once, and so the interactions between those systems. So if you've got one drawing down and then allowing another one of the lakes to back up into that available storage, or you've got again the southern ones drawing down faster when the diversion's open, and then being able to bring down the northern ones. That's all being, again, evaluated at the same time.
Because one of the biggest problems that I saw we were having is, while we have the weir open, the water is obviously, the lakes are draining down, but some of the folks are experiencing the water going up. And that starts becoming a big problem. I mean, it affects property, as you might know, but I want to make sure that in this study that we're doing, or we finished or concluded, that has been taken into account. That while we're draining some of the water out, it's kind of being done evenly across the chain of lakes, or at least to the ones that we know are affected the most.
Yeah, and with our long-term models, that'll help. We'll be able to get a better idea of how that's acting right now, and then things like strategically putting a diversion, say on the northern side, to be able to draw those lakes down a little bit faster, and not having to rely as much then on the ability of the southern lake chain to draw down first before the northern chain really is able to start seeing that benefit. That'll go into our recommendations.
Yeah, especially around the Cortland area, you'll see people. It'll take over a week for while the people closer to the Lake Monroe, they're seeing the waters go down quickly, but the other folks they're like, it's been a week and hasn't even gone down an inch.
Yeah.
So it's really troubling, and obviously we can say all day till we're blue in the face that we're doing it, but they're not seeing it. And like I said, in many cases, they were seeing the water levels go up. So that's a big concern. And obviously with some of the models that you showed, they'll be able to drain some of that out to Deep Creek. But I want to make sure that we're doing just enough where we're draining the waters evenly so it's not affecting some of the folks on the northern end of the city.
Going back to the question about Elkham Boulevard too, again, I think it's one of those things. Once we get to the point where we're modeling the diversions in the full models, and if we get to a point where we see one lake, not drawing down potentially as quickly as the other, and it may be something that the connection between that lake and the next upstream or downstream lake becomes the bottleneck, that'll become more evident. And allow us then, as part of our full suite of recommendations, if there needs to be some conveyance improvements between, under a particular road between two lakes, because that's, even with the drawdown or with the diversion, it's not drawing it down fast enough. We could look to see if that conveyance is the construction and if that needs to be upgraded as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Novick.
Thank you, Mayor. So, you talked about 2019, part of your study. There was a significant study done after the 2004 hurricanes. Several projects were identified by Mr. Rod Cash. I think he was with CPH at the time.
Tetra Tech, yep.
And we have yet to implement several of those projects. This commission, past commission, when I was on the commission before, we didn't have the will to generate the funds to address some of those smaller projects. There's a couple of different phases of flooding I think that we need to talk about. There's some of the day-to-day flooding, the more routine flooding, and I think some of these smaller projects that were identified in the original report back from 04 and 05, those could relieve some neighborhood issues on a case-by-case basis. What you're talking about, the Teresa Basin and pumps and stuff, is just moving water around. There's not capacity in the St. John's to move it out expeditiously. If we want to be seriously talking about removing water from this closed basin and moving water out to the St. John's, everybody moves water to the St. John's. If we move it to the St. John's, we get it out through these pumps and stuff, then we're going to be flooding somebody else because it's going to slow. It's going to flood in Astor or wherever. We need to look at this much more regionally than we're talking about just with the water coming out of Lake Helen and coming down into Deltona and then going through DeBerry and going out. We need to have a strong conversation with the Army Corps of Engineers and look at doing something to improve the speed in which the St. John's can move the water north to Jacksonville. Until we do that, all we're doing is moving the flooding problem from one community to the other. And that will result, I believe, in lawsuits if we do move that water out. And that then will stall a project that we have invested in that we may have to take a loan out to be able to do. So if you don't start with the drain and work your way back, I think we're just spinning our wheels. So some of the smaller projects, we can address the summer afternoon thunderstorm flooding and that, and getting the water into holding facilities, be it Leffler's property or wherever. But the big flooding, the hurricane flooding, that's going to take something much bigger than Deltona to resolve the problem, because all we're going to do is be moving the water around. We don't have the capacity to store that kind of water, and it's got to be gotten rid of through the only mechanism we have, which is the St. John's. So we need to expand this conversation to the state level and possibly the federal level to see if other communities from Jacksonville coming all the way back down to Volusia County, if we can have the political will and influence to do some dredging and something with the St. John's to increase the speed in which the water then leaves and goes out in Jacksonville and goes out into the ocean.
All right. Commissioner Caldwell, do you want to say anything on the second turn? If not, I'm going to go to Commissioner Harriet, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I had my hand raised. I guess you can't see that on end. My question is when the study proposes that we pump water out towards the Deep Creek area for storage and eventually into the Deep Creek, have we looked beyond that? What it'll do to folks downstream from there? Or did our study stop at the point where we store it?
Our study is going to end up pretty much stopping where the storage is and discharge then from this proposed facility. This again, and this is where the stakeholder coordination comes in. I know that Volusia County is doing an update of the Deep Creek Basin as we speak. So this would be as part of coordination then with Volusia County as part of this to be able to give them our flows and our assumptions that they could put into their model to be able to verify on their end what they can be able to accept, what they can assimilate without causing significant adverse effects then to properties within Deep Creek Basin, for example. So again, that'll be ongoing, basically an ongoing model maintenance, for the city moving forward. Then after this study is complete, and then as Volusia County study is complete, of basically merging those two to figure out what's going to be acceptable. And Commissioner, to your point earlier as well, water management district's not going to permit anything that we can't demonstrate that we are not going to be, adversely impacting, either from a water quantity or a quality standpoint. So all of that's going to go into our final recommendations on, again, how big can this pump be? How much can we pump at peak? Based on that, is it really going to reduce the actual peak stage, or are we going to see most of our benefit in just the ability of the lakes to recover significantly faster than they do presently? And that all goes into, again, the discussions that we're going to have with the Water Management District and the regulatory aspect of this. And, our recommendations that come out of the final study are, will be ones that, have gone through at least preliminary muster and review by the appropriate regulators, so that there can be confidence that that won't be a major hangup, or if there are major concerns, document those, identify what further steps need to be taken in order to alleviate those concerns, so that the project can meet regulatory scrutiny.
The other thing is to Harriet's point there. The lake levels at Deltona, they rise together and they lower together during natural conditions. What my point was to the LCAM, raising the LCAM, was during storm conditions, when we get an influx of water coming from the north. The LCAM was a natural dam that stopped the flow, slowed the flow down. My concern is by elevating that and putting pipes underneath there, are we creating a bigger issue downstream? That's all I had to say about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Harriet, and then Commissioner Novick, and then we're going to, if nobody else hasn't spoken, then we're going to move on.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, two things, or three things. The first is that I know that we've talked a lot about water conveyance between the lakes. There was a plan put in place, I believe, in the mid to late 2010s, that was the Blue Ways Trail. And I'd like to ask staff to bring that back as a possibility to include recreational opportunities, but also increase the capacity at the same time between lakes, so that we can help move water between throughout the basin quicker, but also provide that recreational opportunity, which, as you've mentioned before, opens up additional funding opportunities. And then I'd like to clarify that the purposes of the elevations for LCAM and Catalina, they are not specifically tied to the movement of water. Those two proposed elevation projects, or projects that are being that are in engineering right now, are tied to public safety and the movement of our public safety apparatus. Because when you cut off a majority of District 1 via closing down Catalina, you significantly increase the response times to a large portion of that district on the northeast or the northwest side of the city. And then the same with LCAM. The elevation, or when LCAM floods right there next to or close to Howland, you're cutting off first responder access from the fire station that is adjacent to that portion of the roadway. And then the second thing, or the third thing, the last thing, is to Commissioner Nobick's point, this plan really needs to start at the street level. So I'd also like to get consensus from this dais to direct staff to update the stormwater master plan that was last updated in 2019, and update it next fiscal year.
Which project are you referring to? We still talking about the water, or are we still talking about the bridge on court on?
So I hit the button. The consensus would be to direct staff to update the 2019 stormwater master plan.
Legal?
That's a proper direction at this time to staff. You'd like to direct that they prepare an update to the stormwater master plan that was last updated in 2019 and to include provision for that in the upcoming fiscal year budget.
You want to make a consensus of that? Is everybody okay with that?
You want to wait until next budget, or you want to do it this budget?
If staff, I mean, we're 2 months away from the end of the budget, the end of the fiscal year, so if we could do it as soon as possible, begin it as soon as possible, but make sure that it carries over.
Commissioner Nobick, and then Commissioner Howington.
Thank you. Yeah, I just, Robin, I'd like to see what we can do budget-wise to start that process, what kind of funds that's going to take. So if you can bring that back as part of retooling.
So yes, we'd have to look at the current fund or the current projects planned, and you would have to prioritize. I mean, that's basically what we end up doing. As you know, currently with stormwater, we're supplementing with general funds, so that's another conversation. So again, we can bring as best we can to get with Jim and Glenn and work on some kind of proposal or something from maybe our current engineering services, just a rough something, or Phyllis, to give you something, to give you an idea of what those dollars might be to write a stormwater master plan.
The original idea of doing it next fiscal year.
Let's take our turns. You still got Commissioner
Oh,
Howington.
I think we're at a conversation standpoint with this topic, so if we can be a little
Go ahead.
conversational.
And then the original idea behind beginning it in fiscal year 27 is that we're 2 months away from the end of the fiscal year, and it's going to take them a couple weeks to, prepare the documents and figure out an estimate and work through it, and then it's going to take some time to move it forward to the next step. So if we could just have staff work on it and plan it to begin it at the beginning of fiscal year 27, that would be ideal.
Let's just see what we can do.
Right. The reality is we can, again, do exactly what you said, look at that, probably a first quarter or a second quarter, here's our estimate, and then you would modify and go from there. So we'd still continue working
Yeah,
projects 1 and 2 priority, bring it back to you. It could be a mid-year even that you consider at that point in time. We can't go forward without your approval, so it would just be a conversation that we'd bring back to you to consider going forward.
I think we need to have a much more detailed and in-depth conversation regarding this report. I think we need to look at what other options we may have available in terms of mid-basin and regional stuff. At one time, there on the potable water side, there was a water alliance. Do we still have the water alliance? So maybe we need to look at, Mayor, moving forward with some kind of a regional stormwater alliance and see what input we can get with other partners.
We're working on something with the county mayor of Daytona Beach Shores, and I sit on that stormwater committee. So
well, it's got to get bigger than just Volusia County, because again, I truly believe the problem is the St. Johns River. If we can get the water to the river and it won't go nowhere, we haven't solved anything. And I don't want to spend $30, $40, $50 million on pumps and maintenance and engineering, only to get the water to the St. John's, and then it backs up into the system and it goes nowhere.
Yep.
So that's my concern, is that the river doesn't have the capacity to remove. We're talking about size of pumps, we're talking about size of pipes. We can get it to the river, but then when the river can't take it, where does it go?
Yep.
It comes back around. And we just recirculate that same problem. It comes back in at DeLand, or it comes back in, flows into Lake Helen, and then it comes back through. All we're doing is moving the water around in a circle because it can't get past Astor.
Yep.
It won't get past Astor as it is today.
The idea of the stormwater master plan is to update that plan that you spoke about that was last updated in 2019 with those smaller projects that are focused on the street level within that localized flooding that typically comes from just a large afternoon storm. So.
Right, and that will give some residents some relief, and we'll see some improvement, and we will save money on roads having to be resurfaced and ground up and pulled up and base put down. That's a different level than getting it out to the St. John's with $30 million worth of pumps and pipe.
Absolutely. Can we get consensus for that stormwater master plan, Mayor?
Not on a presentation. Is that?
See, yeah, you can provide direction to staff.
All right, let's hear from Commissioner Howington first, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Commissioner Howington, she's been waiting.
Thank you. Did the study look into dredging the existing lakes?
Ben, if you can click on your microphone.
No.
So what are we looking at with that? Because we have a lot of lakes that have trees, other things in them that's obviously displacing water. So
There's environmental, ecological concerns when you start getting into dredging of lake bottoms. You start suspending sediment. That becomes a major permitting issue. Vegetation, there can be some options potentially for the identification removal of invasives. But a lot, if you start going in there, start impacting native, wetland species and the like, you start running into, again, some major regulatory concerns. So, no, we have, as much as possible with the recommendations that we've made so far, trying to minimize any impacts to existing surface waters and wetlands. Again, as much as anything, to try to give the city a plan that is going to have as little regulatory burden as possible.
Okay, thank you. And this may be more for staff. Do we have a regular maintenance schedule for the conveyances? Is that, how frequently do we clean them? And
They're inspected on a continual basis.
Ms. Wallace, can you make sure you go to the mic?
sorry.
That's okay. Yes, Commissioner. We do have a sector inspection, and it is continuous. We just never stop doing it. So if they see something that needs to be addressed, it gets addressed. Are we as current as we could be? We're not. We are down a number of staff members, and that just is it's a snowball effect. So we do look at our residents, and when they bring something to our attention, we get out, we get eyes on that right away. We try to take care of that, but there is a program, and we try to adhere to that with the resources we have available to us.
Okay, thank you. And then when we have residents that notice that they have stormwater systems that might have vegetation in them, do we have any recommendations for what the best way of reporting that is? Because I know that I receive lots of calls, as I'm sure my colleagues do as well, when people notice that they have vegetation growing in their stormwater system. And frankly, I've been a little afraid to bring things forward because I would be accused of trying to help friends.
Nope, anybody can call. They can call 386-878-8950. That gets to Public Works, and Jennifer will be more than happy to take that information. It'll get put in a work order system. It'll be prioritized. If we do get the indication that it is something that needs attention immediately, we will dispatch somebody right away to take a look at that. So,
thank you.
386-878-8950.
Thank you, Phyllis.
That's not member.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Harriet, you want to go with your request? You can turn on your...
Yeah, my request was just for the commission to provide consensus and direction or consensus to direct staff to update the 2019 Stormwater Master Plan and begin on it as quickly as possible, understanding that it's going to take more than 2 months.
And that's to include what they have so far, right?
No, this is completely separate from
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Arduro.
All right,
Correct.
to make this very simple, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Question,
Go ahead.
and this is for the next, not to be included in this budget, right?
It-
The next
it's-
quarter?
It's going to take longer than,
Right, we're going to have to bring you back, again, we know it's an update to master plan, but we're going to have to bring you back that scope and, again, all that information from whomever we get data from and estimates from, so. there's a
Probably
little bit
second quarter of
process.
next year, right?
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Caldwell, before we go, anything else?
I'm done, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ben, so much for your time. Thank you. All right, community events. Next time we have something like that, can we make sure that that is the bulk of our agenda? Because that's an important item. And we...
Yes, sir.
Okay, please. No? Okay. All right, consent agenda items. If there's Commissioner Harriet.
I'd just like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
No. Wait, I got a call. Yeah, I just thought you wanted to remove. Commissioner Caldwell, is there anything on the consent agenda?
I want to pull B.
B as in boy?
E as in Edward.
E as in Edward, sorry. Okay. All right. Seeing that nobody else is, Commissioner Howington.
I'd like to pull B and C. B as in boy, C as in Charlie.
All right, Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez. We have B, C, and E.
Yes,
Hold on.
to pull D as in dog.
Okay. All right, we're going to pull all of them except F. And A. All right, is there any public comment for the consent agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Brandy White, please.
Ms. White, if you can turn on your podium. Oh, there you go.
There it goes. Okay. So a few things, I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. What did the commission approve after adopting each annual budget, and what does the 3-year amendment pattern tell us about the accuracy and transparency of the original budgets? So I'd like to focus on 3 things. How much has the budget been amended after adoption and why? The most important number isn't any individual amendment. It's the cumulative difference between the original adopted budget and the final amended budget each year. I've reviewed from 2023, 2024, and the 2025/2026 budgets. And if staff could show and break down the new unanticipated revenue, use of fund balance, transfers, grants, capital carryforwards, and actual new spending, that'd be helpful. Because that immediately separates routine accounting amendments from genuine spending decisions. Repeated amendments in the same areas. If the city repeatedly has to amend the same departments, contracts, projects, expense categories year after year, then that's no longer simply an unforeseen circumstance, and it may indicate that the original budget isn't capturing the city's reasonably foreseeable costs. My question is, looking at our amendments over the last 3 fiscal years, which departments or expenditure categories have required repeated amendments, and why are those reoccurring needs being incorporated into adopted budgets? Fund balance and transfers used through amendments. This is the one residents need explained clearly. A budget amendment can increase the spending authority without necessarily representing new tax revenue. Money can be carried forward, transferred between funds, recognized from grants, or appropriated from fund balance. But when an amendment draws additional fund balance or shifts unrestricted general fund dollars, that's a substantial financial decision. I'm asking staff to distinguish between these amendments. To be clear, I'm not saying amendments themselves are bad. Cities legitimately need them. Grants arrive after adoption, projects cross fiscal years, emergencies happen. But the accountability issue is frequency, magnitude, and predictability. Budget amendments are sometimes necessary, but after looking over the last 3 years of them, we need to distinguish between truly unforeseen circumstances and expenses we're repeatedly adding after adoption. If the same expenses are being amended into the budget every year, then they aren't really foreseen anymore. I'd like to know how much of our budget has increased through amendments in each of the last 3 years and how much came from fund balance and which expenditures have repeatedly required amendments. I'd also like to address the scale of post-adoption changes. I am not going to have enough time. All right. What I think needs to be improved is transparency around what kind of amendments we're approving. I'd like future budget amendments to clearly separate 4 things: prior year carry-forwards, grants, new outside revenue, transfers between existing appropriations, and actual discretionary spending. After seeing millions of dollars in prior year appropriations carried forward, I think we should be asking why those dollars aren't spent in the years originally budgeted. If it's project timing or procurement, that's understandable, but we should identify the pattern and address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Bryan, please.
Good evening, Kathy Bryan, Deltona. I'd like to know some of the same things that Brandy's asking about, and how much of these amendments got shifted or we needed the extra money because of a lot of the things that happened up on the dais this last year, the lawsuits, et cetera, and don't look at the residents because a lot of that was caused right up there. So but I am curious, what are these amendments? Why don't we, an accounting would be nice to see of which departments are spending the most, and do we need to make accommodations in the budget? What are we budgeting for this year that we don't necessarily need to have that can be pushed over to some of these other areas where you're having to amend? So I'd also like to know what happened to the tree outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that ends consent.
All right, Commissioner Caldwell, would you like to make a motion for item A and E, or sorry, A and F as in Frank? A does need to be amended?
I don't remember what page it was.
Okay, needs to be amended in section 10, city attorney comments. The commission concurred to have legal record an affidavit for errors to correct the release of liens.
Yeah, the motion and the vote don't need to be on there. You guys made a consensus. There wasn't an actual motion.
Got
and
it.
a
So
vote.
it
That's
just needs to
gonna
be corrected to a consensus. Would you like to make that motion?
So to be clear, we're making a motion on A and F. Okay?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve A and F.
With the added amendments, correct?
With the added amendments to, we're talking about E.
No, I was talking about A, which is a request for the minutes for the regular commission meeting of August 3rd. It needed to be amended from a
Yes.
motion to a consensus. Got it. Vice Mayor
Yes,
Avila
yes.
Vasquez.
That's for 8. Second.
Okay. Right, can we please do a vote?
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner Howington?
Yes.
Commissioner Novick?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Avila?
Yes.
And Mayor Avila?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes for 7A and F is in Frank. All right, Commissioner Howington, you brought up B, request for approval, resolution number 2026-74.
Yes, thank you. I would like to not see these as part of consent because I think our residents should have a little bit more time to speak on budgetary items. And I agree with everything that Brandy White said. This little 2-page document that we get just doesn't really cut it as far as giving us information. If we receive a grant or something that increases the revenue coming into the city, we should know that. We should be able to see that when we're going from 344 million to 356, that we know what that is. Right now, it just looks like we're adding a bunch of fluff that we have no idea how to explain. So while I'm sure people in finance have a great grasp on what's happening, up here at the dais and the public, we don't. And so it would be nice to have some more granular detail. And I know in the past I've asked for actual expenses, and there for a while I got it. Haven't seen anything in a long time. I know it's small dollars, but the questions were raised about the extra $45,000 for the backpack event. And I don't see anything being transferred out for that. So when the residents come in and say, where'd that money go? I don't have an answer for them. Now, does that mean that it's going to go back because it was a budgeted item and now the city manager can spend it on whatever he wants because it's under his $50,000 spending limit?
So again, it's budgeted. It's already in that account line item. That's where it stays, just like your $500,000 for your audit and forensic and all those other things. At the point in time in which you as the commission tell us to move those monies or through a budget amendment, those are, at that point in time, do we move those monies. So or we'll bring it back to you at year end, or as normal, our normal process, any dollars left in the general fund or any other fund, for that matter, at the end of the fiscal year, fall back to fund balance. That's a practice that all governments practice, right? And that's something we would bring back to you again as those transactional entries through the budgetary process or through year end. And we do detail those out for you, so those are detailed. It will show you all those transactions that happen. It's usually lump sum, but we also have the details.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I don't see anything here, and that is something that just came up. So I'm asking the question because our residents are asking us, and so I'm...
Understand, but we don't just go and pick out the ones, the projects. I mean, that project was planned 18 months ago, the same time you're doing projects right now for next year. We don't change the budget unless there's a conversation at the dais to tell us to change the budget and move those funds, or there's a need for use of those funds in which you've discussed, like the master plan here tonight. Then we would take those dollars, if that's what you all tell us to do, to use that for the master plan. So again, we take direction from you. At the same point, we don't just go in there and pull those dollars to use and put those to fund balance. We don't know that you won't come back to another project at some point in time that's in the Parks and Rec fund, right? And you may say, I'll reallocate that project program to this new one. So then we would bring that back to you as a budget amendment. So we don't go and just pull unless you've directed us, or we have nothing else and we need to do something you've asked us to do, then we would present that in the budget process. So that would be part of this here. So we just don't typically go and pull and apply. But keep in mind, all budgets, like anything else, we've looked at and planned year and a half ago. So it's a foresight that you're trying to match. It's a estimate, right? So we don't know, and your direction may change. So $47,000 for the event was an outdoor event with a lot of costs, and it changed to an indoor event, from my understanding. So that's what happens sometimes, and we have a reduction in the budget. But again, we don't go change that right away. Those monies stay there, and then at the end of the year, what we call is a lapse in funding. They fall back into fund balance, and we move forward.
I appreciate that explanation because, again, we get asked, so it's nice to have that come directly from the city. Thank you.
All right, are you done, Commissioner? Okay. Commissioner Colwell, did you want to make a motion?
I do. I want to make a motion to table this until the next meeting. Manager can be there to answer some questions. He is the one that presented this and signed off on it.
But we're talking about B as in boy.
We're talking about the budget, correct?
Right, the CFO is here if you would like for him to present. He is here to discuss the budget. I was just answering the questions.
I want to table it because I have several questions and I want to ask the city manager directly.
All right, there's a motion to table. Is there a second? Commissioner Arlington wants to second it. All right, if we can vote.
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
No.
Commissioner Howington,
Yes.
Commissioner Novick,
No.
Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Villa.
No.
It dies for a tie.
The motion fails. Is there another motion on the floor? Hold on.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2026-74, third quarter budget amendment for fiscal year 2025-2026.
It's a motion by Commissioner Novick. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I'd also like to point out that we've had this agenda for the better part of a week now, and staff is here. The CFO, the deputy city manager are both here to answer any questions that need to be asked. You know, there's nothing on this budget amendment that is, you know, vanity per se with, you know, we've got fire safety manager retirement payouts, we've got PFAS settlement proceeds, we've got stormwater study transfers from the stormwater fund to the capital improvements fund. This is a lot of just proper accounting treatment adjustments. This isn't you know, moving around any money for anything that the commission has asked or not asked. It's also got the movement of funds for the Lake Windsor force main project, and we've got some important things on here that need to be accomplished, and I'd rather not delay them for another meeting.
Do you want to say something?
Commission, I have no problem at all if it gets postponed. Everything on here, though, could be postponed, but the moving of the ARPA money from the water main replacement to the Lake Windsor, we talked about that during last year's budget process. We're at that point. If that portion doesn't get approved, we cannot issue the RFP, ITB next week, and we could literally have to submit that money back to the federal government if we don't get this ITB issued, awarded, the first meeting in October. Otherwise, we won't meet the December 31st cutoff date for all expenditures to be paid for. That's the only issue on this item that is absolutely paramount to get pushed forward.
So the only other thing I would say is the SCADA you approved at the last meeting, and the SCADA is on here.
Yep.
Again, it just delays a project. We can go forward whenever you're ready, but that project was
Yep.
approved at the last meeting for SCADA, and the funding is on this budget request, because that's our practice. They can present it to you all for approval as long as they present it in, if you look back at that particular agenda item, you would see that that would be part of the third quarter request for adjustments, that we always disclose that to you, and we've been doing that as past practice this past year. So if there's a need to fund a project, it's on there, and then we reflect it in the next agenda or the next quarterly meeting, and then it can move forward. So I would just mention that. Other than that, you can delay the project if that's your desire.
All right. There's a motion and a second. Can you please go for the vote?
Commissioner Caldwell,
No.
Commissioner Harriet,
Yes.
Commissioner Howington,
No.
Commissioner Novick,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez,
No.
Mayor Villa.
Yes.
It dies, tie.
Commissioner Harriet?
I'm going to make a motion to amend the budget amendment to approve the transfer of funds related to the Lake Windsor Force Main project and the SCADA project that was approved at the last meeting, so that we don't forego those funds and have to return those.
Commissioner Novick?
Before I second it, Mr. McKinney, how much money is that? If we don't transfer that tonight, how much do we stand to lose?
For the ARPA, approximately $2 million.
So if we don't move this tonight, we lose $2 million.
Yes, sir, I would have to return it to the federal government.
I second the motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Will you please vote?
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner Howington?
Yes.
Commissioner Novick? Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor Villa?
Yes.
It passes
All right.
6-0. He said no?
Say yes. I say yes.
Oh.
All right, Commissioner Howington, we're going to you for C, request for approval resolution number 2026-53.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Thank you. I had some questions about the development review changes that are happening in the fee schedule.
Yes, ma'am.
Just walk us through what those changes are and why.
I'll have Jordan come and do that, since
you.
he's your resident expert. Any particular one, or you want us to start at one point in time, or all of them? Just so that we make sure we cover what you're looking for.
In general, what's happening, because there's a whole section that's changing, so it's kind of a holistic view of what's happening here.
So broad base, Jordan?
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. We're just updating the development review fees based on applications that are no longer available. They've changed, and we're also adding some engineering fees, which we have not charged before, and we're just updating fees to cover the cost of the review.
So we're not eliminating fees or anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. That was just something I wanted to confirm. I think that was the only question that I had, probably for you. The other one was, as we all saw, and I hate to bring this up, but the Christmas parade and creating fees. There's a statement that allows fees to be created outside of the commission. However, when that happens, then the commission has to answer for those fees that are created. And so I would like for us to consider the possibility of removing the section about creating new fees without coming to the commission first, since we're the ones that have to answer for those new fees.
What page is that on?
It is on, it is not numbered. It's on the Parks and Recreation section. I think it's, if we could get these numbered in the future, that would be great. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages in from the back. A special event permit and fees.
If I may ask, are you mentioning the market price?
Let's see, there's a section that talks about the Parks and Recreation Director may, with the city manager approval, adjust the above rates, which is just tied to the rates above. But then there's a section below that allows the city manager to create a new program fees necessary related to Parks and Rec. And as we saw with the Christmas parade, we went from having a toy donation to having a required fee of $75 that the city commission did not approve. But yet, we were the ones that the community came to us to complain when the schools were having to pay that fee.
So I believe these two are in the purchasing manual, correct? Part of this?
No, ma'am, that portion isn't. This has been in the fee resolution for
Yes, it's not
since
new.
March of last year.
Yeah.
And I recall that I made the expression, we go and we create a new pickleball league, and, because that's a new fad, and so Mark creates it, but we need to create a price for it, so then Mark and the city manager would create the fee, and then that would get incorporated into the next fee resolution when we brought that before you.
And again, those fee resolutions really at quarterly time is when we look at those, okay? So we do look at that 4 times a year if there's a need to and there are changes.
Right, but unfortunately, as we saw earlier in December, this created a community issue. And again, we who sit up here are having to answer for that. And I think that that is a concern. If we have to approve all of the fees, we shouldn't be approving them after the fact. Especially when in that instance, I was specifically told that the city manager was unaware of that new fee being created. So I think that we should probably have a little bit more control over that aspect of the fee schedule.
Just for clarification, they add the fee, and then it still has to come before us to approve that fee. Is that correct?
It would come back, it may be after the fact, but it would come back before you. So if you tell us that it has to be before, we put that in the policy.
All right. Commissioner Harrington, do you want to make your motion so we can move forward? Oh, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand, what do you mean when you say market fee? I mean, how do you determine a market fee on a Christmas parade? I'm just, trying to understand where we're going with all these, because there's a whole bunch of market fees description.
Microphone's off.
I will try and speak for the individuals that's not here, because I asked that very same question. So when that comes up, they look at what the surrounding areas are doing for, say, not to add salt to the wound, but the Christmas parade. Everyone's looking to do $50 in the region, and we had it at $75 prior year, so we want to bring it back down to $50 to be equal to all the surrounding municipalities. Or if we're doing a new festival and we're not sure what we should charge, we know that the costs are going to be $10,000. We look to bring in 10,000 people, so we're like, oh, we're going to charge $1 entry fee. So we kind of put that together between Parks and Rec, community events, and the city manager staff.
So you're actually comparing the other neighborhood events?
Yes, ma'am.
Come up with a market fee?
Yes, ma'am. The city manager and community events, they're putting together an actual policy that would dictate that, and this resolution wouldn't go into effect until October 1st. And so by that time, they're supposed to have a policy in play so that when that takes place and we have to come up with an event price, then we're not, it's as I always say, it's not a dartboard. There's got to be a science behind it.
So I do have that policy. It was given to me this week, so we are looking at that policy. Keep in mind what it's trying to do is we're trying to only charge for the dollar needed for the event. So if basketball requires a T-shirt and that's it, then we should charge whatever that might be for that basketball, and maybe referees, right, or the use of the gym, that type thing. Where football maybe require equipment as well as umpire, referee, whatever they're called, as well as a field, as well as things. So every program is not the same, which is why you have to have program fees and you're at market value, because some of the other communities we may travel to also, there's a fee and a cost of that. So they have submitted a policy for us to look into that area, and the policy does state regional, the Orlando, Volusia area, so that at least if we're traveling to those areas, we are at least recovering the cost to the city. That's the whole point of a fee schedule, is to recover your costs and not make anything, but make sure that we're covering the cost of the program. But not every program is equal. Soccer's going to be a different cost.
I'm sorry. Can I get somebody to make a motion in a second to extend the meeting at least 15 minutes?
So moved.
I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting longer.
I just said so moved.
There's a
longer than 15 minutes.
Commissioner Davison, please. Commissioner Caldwell, we're going to go to you first. You want to make the motion, and I'll let Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez to be the second. All right.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
All right.
And
5 in favor, 1 supportive. Go.
Thank you. I just have one more question. Are we still going to waive fees for certain organizations like?
Yes, ma'am, we do. If we go, that's under the center, and that was also a little bit of new language. is the Volusia County School District, Volusia County Board of County Commissioners, Volusia County Constitutional Officers, and 501c3 in partnership with the city shall receive a 15% discount for any events during the weekday and will receive weekday pricing for weekend events, excluding the 15% discount. All fees must be paid through the 501c3 organization.
Okay, I read that one. I was just referring to the parade, but I guess it works the same way, right?
We currently do not waive any other fees throughout the city. So anything like that, that's always come back before the commission for approval if we waive fees for specific events.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Harrington, you want to go ahead and finish off, and then Commissioner Harriet is.
We need to move forward.
All right.
Residents waiting for us.
I move to approve resolution number 2026-53 with an amendment to the special event permit and fees that requires the new program fees to be brought before the commission before it is implemented.
So motion by Commissioner Harrington.
I
Vice Mayor.
second.
There's a second by Commissioner Caldwell. Vice Mayor, did you want to say something? All right. Can we please vote? Go ahead, Commissioner Novick.
For what is implemented, the program or the fee? Before the fee is implemented, not the program. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet? Yes. Commissioner Harrington?
Yes.
Commissioner Novick? Yes. Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez?
Yes.
Mayor Villa?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
This time, we're going to go to Section 7D as in David, request for approval resolution number 2026-70. Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Mr. Manning. Somebody called and asked me a couple of questions about this turf.
Yes, ma'am.
They wanted to know how safe, and did the city do any investigation on how safe this turf is to their animals, especially their paws? What they were saying is that, let me see if I remember, if the temperature is, say, 90, the turf is 120 because of the rubber underneath. That was one thing. The other thing they mentioned was about the urine and the feces that stays in the turf. How do we, or what are we planning to do to keep that clean so that the animals do not get infected?
So I think there might be a misconception there. The artificial turf is only going into the entrance areas to the small and large area.
Okay.
The dogs will still be able to run around the rest of the dog areas and play. The only area that's going to have the artificial turf is the sidewalks going into the new pavilions in the small and large dog area, and that is for the dog owners, so they're not walking in dirt, they're not walking in poop. The artificial turf itself is dog-friendly. There will be no issue with what you mentioned before, so there should be no problems with that at all. And it's only in one small specific area. The rest of the dog areas, the dogs can run and play in the grass and dirt and do whatever. This will not affect what the residents bringing up to you right now.
Okay, I think they're going to be very happy because they were very concerned about, the heat on the paws and stuff like that. But thank you very much for the answer and clarification.
Sure.
Commissioner Caldwell, would you like to make a motion, and then I'll go to Vice Mayor who.
Excuse me, Mayor, may I interject one thing? Sorry. If you approve item D, that's an ECHO grant, and those funds are also on your budget amendment. So if you approve it, can you amend your approval to at least approve the funds so we can process that budget amendment so that ECHO grant can continue? So it is on that third quarter budget amendment.
Commissioner Caldwell, you want to take a jab at it, or you want to let Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez try?
I'll let Ms. Vasquez run with it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I make a motion to approve the ECHO grant for this project, which is D, let me just go back to it. Oh, yeah, here it is. The turf for the award, Field Builders of Florida, wait a minute. To install synthetic turf at Keysville Dog Park. Did you get that, Joyce? So it's like two items in one.
All right.
The echo,
Is
just the
there
echo.
a second?
I'll second that.
It just
the
does,
amendments
it needs
to-
to state also budget amendment that, or a budget adjustment of 133,000, so we can make
I think
that
Zach
adjustment.
wants to tell Vice Mayor how to
I'll
say
offer
it.
the form of a motion. So you could move to approve resolution number 2026-70 and also approve a budget amendment in the amount of,
$133,194, excuse me, so $133,194.
and you can just say so moved.
You got that, Joyce? So move.
So there's so moved by Vice Mayor Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner Caldwell. Can we please, Commissioner Novik, okay, can we please vote?
Commissioner Caldwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet,
Yes.
Commissioner Howington,
Yes.
Commissioner Narbeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez, Mayor Villa.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
All right, next we're going to go to Commissioner Caldwell, request for approval of resolution number 2026-75, authorizing the city attorney to prosecute civil citations.
Yes, I have a question for the attorneys. By authorizing this, I use an example, the foreclosure that we voted on recently on Fort Smith Boulevard. If we approve this, would those items like that not come back to us?
No, sir. So this is only authorizing the prosecution of civil citations. There are several violations in your code, like the animal ordinance that you're going to be voting on later tonight, that are punishable by a civil citation. Normally, people just pay the civil citation and move on, but in the event that that is contested, then there's actually a trial at the county court in which the city attorney would have to represent the city as the prosecuting entity. So because our contract requires litigation to be authorized prior to initiation, we're just asking for this blanket to let us prosecute these civil citations as they come up. And hopefully they're few and far between, but as they come up, we'd like to be ready because there are tight timelines where we wouldn't necessarily be able to come back to the commission and get an approval before we would have to be at the court.
Thank you for that.
Commissioner Caldwell, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Commissioner Harriet makes a second. You were also on the, you're good?
No, we're good. I just wanted to make a second.
Okay. Can we please vote?
Commissioner Caldwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet,
Yes.
Commissioner Howington,
Yes.
Commissioner Narbeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Villa.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
All right, next we're going to go to 8. A is an alpha. If I can please have the city attorney read that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 15-2026, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the City of Deltona Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Animals, to provide regulations related to the abandonment of animals and enhance penalties for same in accordance with Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and an effective date. This is second and final reading.
All right, before we go to public comment, Commissioner Caldwell, would you like to make a motion? Commissioner Caldwell?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion by Commissioner Caldwell, second by Commissioner Harriet. Can we go to public comment and then I'll go to Commissioner? Okay.
Kathy Bryan, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, no public comments.
Okay, Commissioner Harriet?
I'll be real quick. This is, I want to thank staff for bringing this up to us so quickly. This was something that was asked for. I asked for 4 meetings ago, and they worked very diligently and brought this, we're at second reading, and so this is final adoption. And thank you guys very much. And we've heard this from the community many times that this is what, a tool in the toolbox to help address the feral cat problem.
Commissioner Howington?
Thank you. I just wanted to get some clarification from legal. I think that this is a great ordinance, it's something that we definitely need in the community. But I just want to confirm, because I know the state has a statute that creates a misdemeanor for animal abandonment, and it has a maximum fine of $5,000, and ours escalates to $7,500. And I'm just trying to confirm that we're not doing anything that is out of alignment with the state of Florida or what we're allowed to do.
No, this is consistent with HB 559, which is codified as Chapter 2026-78 Laws of Florida. That becomes effective October 1, 2026.
Okay.
So this ordinance will become effective concurrent with that, and this aligns with the authorization under statute.
Perfect, thank you. And how about enforcement? How is this enforced?
So that will be through your animal control. And certainly they can speak more about how the actual investigations will occur. But my understanding is essentially if there's a report of an abandoned animal, they'll investigate and try and find who did the abandoning.
Okay.
That's correct. Daniel Ron from Code Compliance, civil citation or special magistrate. The special magistrate, most likely if it's an animal, a property owner that commits this violation. If it's a renter, most likely it'll be a civil citation. And these are the penalties we would like to enforce on them all.
Has there been any discussion at this point with the sheriff, just because it is a misdemeanor crime? And so given that it is actually a misdemeanor, can we possibly partner with the sheriff's department when these situations arise?
It does allow us to, law enforcement, animal control, code enforcement can actually issue these fines for these, for this violation, abandonment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, can we please vote?
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner Howington?
Yes.
Commissioner Novick?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Mayor Villa?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. At this time, we're going to go to 9 action items. If I can please have the city attorney read the action item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is actually just a cleanup item. This is from your last meeting where you voted, where you provided direction to suspend the portion of ordinance number 02-2026 related to ages and the micromobility devices. Upon review of the meeting, the city clerk actually flagged that there was not a proper motion and second. So while you provided an affirmative vote, there was no motion and second. So we would just ask you to
Make it official.
To affirm that action tonight.
Commissioner Caldwell, would you like to do the motion before we go to public comment?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
All right, is there a second? Commissioner Novick, would you like to second?
I second the motion to suspend the enforcement of the age restriction portion of ordinance number 02-2026.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Kathy Bryan, please.
And Commissioner Novick, I'll come back to you.
No, that was.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the agenda wasn't numbered very well. So you guys are suspending this now, and my hope and understanding is that you're going to let the ordinance review committee still do this, because I've also heard feedback that the ordinance review committee, it's been a long day, committee is going forward with more than they should. And I find that unfortunate because I don't know what we're there for otherwise, other than to discuss openly the various issues brought forth to us and try to make it the best ordinance we can that's not only readable by the residents with all the proper legal terms, but also that is enforceable and makes the most sense for everybody. So I'm just hoping that you guys are still going to let us discuss this. So thank you.
All right, just a point of order. I need another motion and a second for the final 15-minute extension.
I'll make a motion.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to extend the meeting until we get through 9C, which the residents in their back are here for.
All right, there's a motion by Commissioner Harriet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Caldwell. All right, Vice Mayor, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a comment. Going back to 9,
I apologize. It has been a long night. Could we, a simple majority, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
Okay, just to make a comment on, when we did the motion on item 9A, I had mentioned that I would vote in favor of it as long as it went through the ordinance review committee and also discuss, maybe some kind of discussion with VSO. So I'm still hoping that we follow through on that.
Yes, ma'am. I believe the ORC set to review Chapter 66 at their September meeting, and we're committed to, once we have a draft of the ordinance, working through that with the sheriff to make sure that it is something that they feel good about enforcing.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the vote. Can we please call the roll?
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner Howington?
Yes.
Commissioner Nabik?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez?
Yes?
Mayor Villa?
Yes.
Pass 6-0.
All right, this time we're going to go to 9B, which is regarding data centers. Do you want to try and take a jab at how you want to word this, Mr. Good?
Sure. So my understanding is that...
Two requests.
Yeah, I know there's two requests, and I believe the way to square them together would be to tonight direct staff to move forward with drafting and scheduling for hearing an ordinance that would create a moratorium on all data center applications for the next 12 months. I do want to be very clear in this public hearing, the data centers are not an allowable use under your code as it stands. So we'll definitely be looking at ways that we can future-proof your code, but I want to be very clear to the community that data centers are not an allowable use under the code as it stands.
This is more of a just-in-case type of... Are you okay with that, Commissioner Caldwell, adding all data centers instead of specific ones?
No, I would like to have a ban on anything 50,000 megawatts.
So you want just specific, or you're okay with doing a ban on all data centers?
No, we can do a moratorium on anything 999 and below.
Yeah, so I guess the moratorium can be a blanket for all data centers, and understanding that there's a desire for the implementation of a ban of those data centers that are over the threshold, we can utilize the time that we're in the moratorium to draft an ordinance that accomplishes that goal. Because during that moratorium, the reason would be declaring it is so that staff can draft ordinances and regulations that accomplish the goals that you all are going to set forth, which would include that.
I will accept that.
Okay. Commissioner Harriet, are you okay with that? And your time is yours now.
Yes. So just to reiterate, we're talking about a moratorium for 12 months on all data centers, regardless of size. Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was wanting this evening. I recognize that we could be a little bit more restrictive on the mega-sized data centers, but the reality of it is that there is not room in the city of Deltona for these mega-sized data centers. My largest concern for today is that we have data centers that are the smaller scale data centers that can come in and pop up in any of our industrial or commercial areas and impact the residents and the neighbors that live next door to them. And I think this is what we need to put those guardrails in place so that staff can take the next few months and put those guardrails in place via an ordinance that can't easily be undone.
So do you want to make the motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve a 12-month moratorium on all data centers regardless of size.
Commissioner Caldwell, would you like to do the second?
I'll second that, yes.
All right. Before we... Commissioner comments, is there any public comment? No? All right, Commissioner Howington?
Thank you. I just want to confirm that because this is something that is not currently allowed within our code, and I assume it was that way as of August 1st, that that would eliminate any risk with SB 180?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And in the legal memorandum that we provided to you, we've also analyzed the recent data center bill that was passed by the legislator that affirmed local governments' regulation powers over these data centers. And as the later legislative pronouncement, we have taken the position that that overrides the prohibitions of SB 180. So while it is not currently allowed at all, that this data center bill also overrides SB 180 in affirming our local government ability to regulate these uses.
Okay, that's your stance. I just was concerned because I know that notwithstanding is not in there and it does not supersede SB 180. So I just wanted to get clarification. So from legal, we are getting the guidance that we will not be violating SB 180 to incorporate this moratorium.
Yes, ma'am. Your litigation risk is very low, and if someone were to bring a case, I believe it would be unsuccessful.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, let's go ahead and call for the...
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner Howington?
Yes.
Commissioner Novick?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Mayor Villa?
Yes.
6-0.
All right, and 9C, Commissioner Harriet, I'll go to you directly because this was your request.
Thank you, Mayor. On Friday, I had the pleasure of meeting some of my neighbors, Patty and Joe, who spoke during public comment.
You want to come to the podium while he's speaking?
Comment today. On my way to the Deltona Battle of the Boulevard game, I intended on just a quick drive-by to see what their yard looked like, and they were outside with their neighbor that actually ended up calling me, and we stopped and said hi, and they are not exaggerating. The hour that we were standing in front of their yard, every single neighbor that drove by stopped and waved. Every single kid that came by stopped and was just having a very cheerful time. It is definitely an asset to the community. With that being said, I would like to get consensus to hold in abeyance any violations that are an imminent threat to public, or am I saying this right, Zach?
Yes.
Hold in abeyance the violations.
So the motion that I would proffer, understanding that the issue here is the growing of vegetation other than grass in the public right-of-way, that we would hold in abeyance any code violations of 38-113B that are not an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare until such time as the City Commission has been able to review a revised version of that ordinance.
And I want to make one thing additionally clear is that there was concern with the mulch that they use to mulch their plantings. That mulch is an integral part of their garden structure in terms of maintaining moisture within the soil and that microbial health. And so I want to make sure that it is very clear that that mulch is part of the garden and it is not, there are no additional violations related to that specifically. And that when we review this ordinance, it is with the intent of
Point of order,
allowing-
Commissioner Harry. I don't mean to stop you. Can we move on his request, and then we can add all that other stuff?
Well, the mulch is important. I'm not.
No, what we're doing is we're stopping them from getting
Okay.
everything removed.
Plantings and ground cover. So moved, amended to add ground cover.
All right.
Great.
Is there a second, and then I'll move to questions? There's a second by Commissioner Howington. Is there any public comment? No public comment. All right, I'm going to go to Vice Mayor first, and then I have a question,
Okay.
and then I'll go back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. And I know that, this is something that's going to be welcomed among neighbors, but do we have, the code enforcement, or involved in this? Do they know about this? Are they okay with this? Are we not breaking their rules?
Yeah, so I would defer to your co-compliance director right here.
The reason this subject came up, because we do have cold cases at this location. Be willing to work with the property owner on this matter, and I'm okay with the review. As long as it's legal, it's good.
Okay, thank you. You know, we want to work with residents, but we also want to be sure that we're not overstepping on our department's codes and stuff like that. So, good. I'm glad that you guys are going to work together.
Yes, ma'am. We've seen some progress, but we definitely need a, review and make sure we are within code and everything like that. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're good? You're done? All right, so I do have a question. Is this garden in front of her house, or is it on the actual right-of-way? It's on the right-of-way.
Both.
So the only reason I ask that is because there's a state statute. She is allowed to grow vegetables regardless of what the city says in front of their property. That passed several years ago.
Yeah, so the issue here is the swale area that's actually city-owned.
Okay, so it's the right-of-way.
Yeah.
All right. Can we make sure that this is a case-per-case basis? Because the last thing, this is not on you, we don't want people to just start growing vegetables in our swells that are supposed to be making sure the storm water is running through.
Yeah, and that's why the form of the motion is to hold in abeyance. So
Okay.
that would mean they could still write a violation, but it would not move forward and be prosecuted.
Okay.
And that it excludes anything that is in threat to public health, safety, or welfare. So if you
Got it. I understand.
planted a giant tree that blocked everyone's view at an intersection, we could remove that.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that we are not giving the green light for people to start growing gardens in our swells. Commissioner Harriet, you're on the...
So there's also a second piece of this that is, in addition to holding their cases in abeyance, it is directing staff to review the ordinance. There are many examples of ordinances across the state of Florida that do allow for vegetable production and fruit production within the right-of-way, and specifically using these holistic and organic type of practices that they use. And it's very, very clear when you go and visit their property, and I encourage everybody to do so. There's no washouts anywhere on the front side of their property whatsoever. They actually have a better swale shape than just about all of their neighbors, even with the mulch. And that mulch allows that ground to maintain moisture so that it absorbs water a lot more efficiently and effectively, and a lot more water in general. So it's better for the stormwater system.
Got it. I just wanted to make sure, and Zach can correct me if I'm wrong. There is a state law that allows them, aside from the right-of-way, that allows them to grow vegetables or fruits in front of their house.
Yes.
All right.
And theirs looks really good. Seriously, guys, everybody should go and take a look at it.
So I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. So, did you want to say something? Hold on.
Say that we actually had all the departments come out in February, and I've sent you all an email. You may not have seen it yet.
Yep.
But we did get an email of approval back in February. It is just literally a singular neighbor that continues to cause these issues.
Let's call for the vote.
There's a call for the vote.
Mayor, I want to be clear, this is just for this particular...
Just this property.
Correct?
So it would be, you'd be holding in abeyance all violations of this.
Of this kind.
Of this kind, yes.
With the
Now,
exception.
I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm concerned because Commissioner Harriet said fruit. Well, that requires a tree. So apples, oranges.
Well, unless it's a watermelon. Watermelon cantaloupes.
We are going to have some restrictions, is that correct?
Yeah, and that's, I think, where the restriction of public health, safety, and welfare comes in. So certainly if you have something that is causing a visibility hazard, impeding the flow of water, it's on top of a storm drain, something like that, and the city can still move forward and take action.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Novik, do you want to say something? Because they called for the vote. All right, can we please vote?
Commissioner Caldwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Harriet?
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington?
Yes.
Commissioner Narbeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Villa Vasquez?
Yes.
Mayor Villa?
Yes.
6-0.
All right, motion passes, and the meeting's adjourned.
We're not going to do commissioner comments?